You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. Thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. It's a War Rapport Wednesday. Mike G, C-Dub of the War Rapport. Man, it's been a fun week already, gentlemen.
Fun? Is that how you're characterizing it?
Yeah.
All right, we're having fun. Are we focused and having fun?
It's signing day.
Happy signing day, everyone.
Merry signing day, man.
Man, and Auburn's hit the ground running with everything. I know all the talk about Bo leaving and, is Tank Bigsby leaving or coming back and all that stuff. It sounds like we're good there, even though nothing official. But, I mean, Auburn's already got four pretty solid players that have joined this 2022 class. I mean, the momentum for Bryan Harsin is very, very real right now.
It is. I'll tell you what, a lot of the worry about this recruiting class, Zach, was way overblown. People freaking out that a first-year head coach doesn't have a bunch of early commits is what I thought was was a lot of panic for nothing. He was not going to get a bunch of early commits. He did not have a ton of connections as a head coach in this region. Right. And so it was going to be wait and see for a lot of players. He needed time to get through the season, see where his roster pans out. Bo transferring opens the door for some things. Tank staying changes the dynamic for some things. There was just a lot of movement once the dust settles and players get to see who we are. Then they can make a decision about if they commit. And, based on Roger McCreary's success this year, and how he performed in the system, it looks like we became an attractive spot for top defensive backs. Mm-hmm. And I'm really excited. I didn't know how well we were going to do. I just didn't know. I just knew it wasn't going to stay down where it was. Right. We were always going to be late bloomers in this recruiting process.
Yeah. And I do want to add on to that. I think a lot of people are just used to seeing the name pop up on whatever subscription site you're looking at and some stars and getting excited over it without understanding the process behind how those names get there and those stars appear. These coaches have to recruit these kids years in advance before they see the fruits of their labor show up on a day like signing day. And I think for this staff to come from another part of the country and have a dead period, which pretty much held them back in terms of trying to make grounds in terms of recruiting, Auburn was destined to start slow. And I think what has happened and what you got to hope for is a little bit of luck, Zach. You have to hope that there's some turmoil or there's some turnover at other universities like LSU, like Florida, to catch you up. And that's exactly what has happened for this coaching staff. And here we are. Auburn is catching up with the rest of the pack. And you gotta credit Harsin and his staff for the hard work they've done, given their late start.
What do you guys think about me saying that Auburn not hiring an OC right away may have been a blessing in disguise? So Auburn's down an on-field coach, so they were able to bring a staffer on with them and put the extra feet on the ground to go recruit. And so that guy was Trevon Reed, a Louisiana native, and man, he has absolutely hit the ground running with getting NC Sledge, the 3-star defensive tackle, as well as the 4-star defensive back, Austin Osbury, who, had a tie to LSU being from down there. And then Jadarian Rhyme, he was committed to LSU and they flipped him. I mean, he's getting a lot of
his
credit.
Dad's a legacy too.
Yep, absolutely. So, I mean, what a win for Auburn with Trevon Reed. I mean, holy cow, props to him.
Yeah, you cannot talk about this success they've had the last few days and not talk about the work that Trevon Reed has done. Right. So I've been pretty plugged in on the back end to some of the recruiting efforts. I got to tell you, I know these last 48 hours may have been exciting, but the next 24 may be just as exciting for a lot of Auburn fans when it comes to recruiting. Those guys are doing an excellent job.
I think you're right. So by the time a lot of people listen to this on Wednesday, Justin Williams is deciding between Auburn and Tennessee at 7:00 in the morning on his Instagram page. Kelly, a defensive lineman, is picking between Auburn, Florida State, Georgia, Miami, and Florida. That's at 9:00. Keontae Scott, another corner. Kind of makes you wonder, Auburn with having success at corners, do they keep that going? or does he possibly go somewhere else? But the big one, Curtis Perry, 1 o'clock. He's announcing on CBS Sports HQ. It sounds like it's between Auburn and Alabama, but he's the guy with all of this. I mean, it could be end up being a good class, a top 15 class, or if they get a guy like Curtis Perry, all of a sudden everything just kind of falls into place.
Yeah, Curtis. Yeah, Curtis. Come on, Curtis.
And to me, this is when it comes down in the past few years, when it comes down to Alabama and Auburn, it was almost a foregone conclusion. If Bama wanted this kid, they were going to Bama. It was almost like Bama was actually drafting kids out of high school to come to their school if they really wanted them. So for Auburn to go toe-to-toe in year one for a kid that Bama actually wants, because, you know, the thing they like to say is, Bama didn't really want him,
right?
Or da-da-da-da-da. But no, they really want this kid. They want this kid. So if they get him, that is a huge win. And I think that you have to quiet down whatever rumblings you've had about recruiting with this staff, because they've done what hasn't been done in quite some time, going toe-to-toe and actually winning a recruiting war with Alabama in this state.
Right. What do you guys think about Darius Clemens? 1, the player, and 2, the battle for him between Auburn and Oregon, and also, you know, apparently Michigan is involved now as well.
Great guy. Wish him well at Michigan.
You think?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I think it doesn't. I think most of us have cooled on him. It looked hopeful for a split second until out of nowhere he was going on a trip to Michigan, and apparently it didn't snow like I hoped it would, and showed him how miserable that place was. So
right.
He's from Oregon. He's used to the snow. He probably felt right at home.
Probably did. But I don't see us landing him. But Auburn is in it for Camden Brown, who a lot of people like. Similar size, talented kid. He just hasn't been on a lot of people's radars. He decommitted from Pitt. Is expected to be between us and Georgia for him. So I'm looking for us to address our needs. Of course, Fair is in the fold as well. So right. I think we'll be fine moving forward, and I'm pretty sure we'll look towards the portal to address some of our wide receiver needs.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, I think you're right on that. It's a War Rapport Wednesday. In just a moment, I want to get the guys' thoughts on Austin Davis and Auburn's offensive coordinator situation. I've been telling you about Prize Picks for months. If you haven't signed up, I don't know what you're waiting for. In addition to college football action, Prize Picks makes college basketball even more exciting. Prize Picks is daily fantasy made easy, and you can pick any kind of prop for any kind of player. They've got it all there based on, you know, big schools, small schools, as well as college and professional leagues as well. You pick 2 to 5 players, an over-under on their projections, and yeah, you kind of predict what you think they're going to do. And so all of the users that deposit and use our promo code, which our promo code is Locked On, you can receive 100% instant deposit match of up to $100. Just use that promo code Locked On. Check out prizepicks.com today. Today's show is also brought to you by our friends at NetSuite. This is it, the putt to win the tournament. If you think the championship is yours, but on your backswing, your hat falls over your eyes. Is this how you're running your business? Poor visibility because you're still relying on spreadsheets and outdated finance software. To see the full picture, you need to upgrade to NetSuite by Oracle. Over 27,000 businesses already use NetSuite, and right now through the end of the year, you're running out of time. NetSuite is offering a one-of-a-kind financing program for those ready to upgrade to netsuite.com/LockedOnNCAA. That is netsuite.com/LockedOnNCAA. Mike G, C-Dub, what are folks missing out if they are not subscribed to the War Rapport?
Listen, we're having fun over at the War Rapport on YouTube, so come on over to War Rapport Alley. Become an insider. Join our community. Lots of great discussion going over there. We're venturing into basketball content, so we got a game.
Last night
we have a game last night.
Yep.
And it's gonna be lots of fun covering this team right now. Bruce Pearl really has something special going. So as of today, as of watching this, his suspension will be officially.
He's back. Yes.
Yeah, he will be back. I thought it was funny in the pregame presser for this game because his son is going to be the head coach. Right. He said he called him BP. He calls his dad BP. He's like, I got to be ready in case BP gets thrown out, man. I was like, okay, so we know how y'all talk at Christmas. But awesome. I just lots of good things going over at the War Report right now. We're the hardest working content creators. No disrespect, Zach. January to July, we're bringing you guys 5 to 6 content pieces a week, insider access, and the off season we do a lot of interviews with current staff, former players. It's going to be a fun time for the next 7 months.
Yeah, be sure to check it out. War Rapport on YouTube. All right, so it seems everything but official at this point that Austin Davis, the Seattle Seahawks quarterbacks coach, will be the next offensive coordinator for the Auburn Tigers. It sounds like unofficial and informal interviews have happened between Harsin and Davis, and then at the point of this being released, there will also be an official and formal interview in place that has already been had. So what do you guys think about this? What do you guys think about this decision? And, you know, it's a little out of the box.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of it because I know very little of Davis. I know who he's coached.
There's not a lot to know. That's kind of the I mean, he's only been a coach for like 2 or 3 seasons.
Right. And so I'm interested to see the direction of this offense and what Harsin wants to do with it. Obviously, this signals to me that Harsin plans to take a more active approach and a more active role in the offense, as he should.
Sure.
So that he can leave his input on the offense. The offense has made some improvements in some areas, Zach, but I really want to see his identity. And one of the things we talked about once Harsin got hired, we actually did a video on this. One of our more highly viewed videos is we talked about the multiple offense. And at times throughout the season, it looked more like Bobo's offense as opposed to being this multiple offense. And so I want to see Harsin's identity on the offensive side of the ball. I want to see him run his offense. And if that means he has to take a more active, hands-on approach, then so be it. And he has a guy who can get some quality experience running a kind of a pro-style offense, but different types of concepts, and who can do and mesh with him really well. I'm all for it. And I think what people have to also keep in mind is that our head coach is an offensive guy. So very rarely are you going to bring in this big name coordinator, because at the end of the day, he's going to be taking orders from Harsin. We saw what happened with the last guy who wanted to do things his way. So obviously this coordinator has to mesh with Harsin and do what he wants to do for this offense.
Yeah. I love that you say, you know, throughout the season, it looked like Bobo's offense, because I think you're right. And we all kind of poked fun in the collective we here. Auburn people kind of poked at the 4th and 1 mentality. And, you know, it's like, well, it's 4th and short all the time and you didn't run it. You know what I mean? And the whole balanced approach. And yet, you know, they're passing it left and right. I think that is true. I don't think Harsin was, you know, misleading when he said that. I just think that's his offense, and that's not what we saw this past season. And so I think he came in his first year in the SEC and he wanted to be a CEO, which I think it's a perfectly fine approach if you're him. And he saw that, okay, there's some things I need to kind of have my hand in a little bit more, and he's adjusting to it. And so he's going to get a guy that can make his quarterbacks better while he focuses probably a little bit more on the scheme and you know, kind of figuring out, you know, what exactly he wants on his play sheet on every Saturday. So I like it. And you got to think, and we haven't seen Austin Davis recruit because he literally never has, but at some point it's either you can recruit or you can't. And if you're going to talk to quarterbacks and you can say that you helped Russell Wilson, that can't hurt. That cannot hurt you.
And he's young.
Yeah.
We should make him more relatable to these kids. So yeah, I think that helps as well.
Hey, listen, man, how much did Trevon Reed recruit before he started?
Amen, brother.
For us, man.
Yeah.
Like,
you got it or you don't. Yep.
Right. Yeah. A couple things here on this OC search, you know, so again, just what everything Caesar just said, 100%.
Sure.
I just want to point out that because we have an offensive head coach, so we should never lack an offensive identity. Same thing with teams that have defensive head coaches. You should never lack a defensive identity. And sometimes you got to give a guy a title so you can pay him. But ultimately, this should be Harsin's system. He got here as a coordinator and a play caller. He carved out a whole career and a name for himself as a coordinator and a play caller. So he has a system that has been successful for him. Right. Not in the SEC, but in football in general. And plenty of coaches have brought those systems in from other lesser conferences and found success with it here. Look what Urban Meyer did. He had no roots in the SEC, right? He brought his system in. A lot of people question, can he duplicate that stuff that he did at Utah? I think Alex Smith was his quarterback at the time. And he got them a couple titles and, went on and duplicated that success again at Ohio State. So now I'm not saying that Bryan Harsin is going to do all that. I'm just thinking, in terms of who his OC is, the name doesn't matter as much to me as, are you able to execute your vision of what this offense is? And are you relying 100% on some guy to bring that vision in? I hope the latter is not the case. He should have a vision. We should see his vision for it. And he needs to sink or swim with that rather than hiring a guy to help save your career, because he's coaching for his job this year, whether he likes it or not.
Yeah, no, he is. He absolutely is. And so, I think he'll have the assets that he needs. Obviously, you got to figure out the whole quarterback thing. Obviously, that's important. But you got your running backs coming back. I think you have the strength of your receivers coming back. You lose Shedrick and you lose Robertson, but I think they'll make do. It appears that John Samuel Shanker is coming back for his super senior season. That's unofficial, but that seems to be the word going around. And so you've got dudes that you can rely on offense. It's just, you got to figure out who your quarterback is, which Harsin may think it's Finley. Who knows? And then also you got to figure out your offensive line, because in the current state of the roster, the offensive line is not ready for conference play.
Yeah.
So that's the big question.
Yeah. As far as quarterback is concerned, I think that's going to be his biggest choice here. He's got to get that right this year. Mm-hmm. He does. The exit of the former, I think, frees him up to really do this his way. So you are no longer trying to
the Gus Malzahn era is now behind us.
Yeah.
Now this is Bryan Harsin's team.
Yeah, you're not trying to bend your system around what another quarterback's, bad habits have been over the last 3 years, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So now it's time to really move on from that. If it's TJ Finley, listen, TJ's going to get his shot here. He's got to have a good showing in the bowl game, and he's got to get something positive on tape to take into the spring for them to evaluate. If he plays poorly, he leaves the door open for either a transfer, a portal guy to come in, or, one of the two younger guys in Demetrius Davis or Holden Gariner, who's coming in fresh off a state title in Georgia.
Right.
So, everybody, I think, is going to get a fair shot here. Competition, or true competition, has to be a thing at the quarterback position in this second iteration of Bryan Harsin's offense, right? And so I'm not a big fan of super losing games at the expense of, teaching guys fundamentals. Mm-hmm. At this level, fundamentals need to be developed in the offseason and ready to go game one. So, they've got, I just want to see them come out the gate. I think the schedule sets up a little good for them to figure some things out again in 2022, right. Rolling into SEC play. Now let's get this thing moving, man. It's not going to get any easier from here on out. So you put some more good stuff on tape so that your recruiting is less stressful in 2022 going into 2023, right? And we can really judge him harshly by that class.
Yeah, there's no question.
Right.
And it should be a good, there's so much talent in the state. That's going to be the big one. So guys, if folks want to support you and watch your content at the War Rapport, what's the best way for them to do that?
Nah, man, just head on over to YouTube, hit that join button, become an insider. We're live a lot, and we're collaborating with you, Zach, other content creators. We appreciate our Auburn content community on the interwebs. So you can check us on every social media platform as well: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TW Rapport on TikTok. So go see us. We're there. We're here for you.
No, and I want to appreciate, of all the Auburn specific content creators that go live, y'all just throw stuff out there. So I just want to say I appreciate that.
Yeah, we get it out there. For sure.
Yeah. So thank you guys for that. It's a War Rapport Wednesday. Hey, in just a second, I'll talk about last night's Auburn basketball game right here on Locked On Auburn. BetOnline has you covered all season for more props, odds, and lines than ever before as football season continues. It's March. to the playoffs. BetOnline remains your number one spot to bet on all sports action. Head to the new updated desktop or mobile website to sign up today to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use the promo code LOCKEDON to receive that bonus. BetOnline, where the game starts. Also, today's show brought to you by the best tasting protein bar ever, Built Bar. You can go to built.com to check out all their amazing flavors and different products that they have. Great for a quick stocking stuffer or something you can wrap and put under the tree. But they've got a ton of different flavors specifically for this holiday season. Check it out at built.com. Use promo code LOCKED15 to get 15% off your order. That's at built.com. All right, looking at basketball, last night's Auburn basketball action. The Tigers won 70-44 against North Alabama. North Alabama, not a very good basketball team. And really, Auburn didn't look that good in the first half. They really, really struggled. You could tell the energy just wasn't there. I saw some people kind of criticizing Stephen Pearl for that. And that may be fair. I don't think he had a whole lot of energy, but he's just never been in that situation before. I don't think we can really fault him for that. His role on this team so far has been obviously to scout and create a game plan, and he's apparently very, very good at that. So I don't want to fault him too much. I think he did a great job. Now, fortunately, that's not an issue we have to look at again. Bruce Pearl's suspension is now done. So that part of the NCAA's quote-unquote punishment is done, is behind us. So Bruce Pearl will return. By the time you're listening to this, he's back. So obviously he will be the head coach again when Auburn takes on St. Louis this Saturday. Yeah. But yeah, 70-44. Auburn was led by Walker Kessler, which is exciting. 6 of 8 from the floor, which you got to love because, I mean, by far the most efficient of the night outside of Devin Cambridge, who was 2 from 2 for 3 and 4 of 5 from the floor. Cambridge had 13 points, as did Jabari Smith. Jabari Smith, not a good game for him. 4 of 15 from the floor, 2 of 5 from 3. That's okay. But the 4 of 15, you want to see more out of him there. Wendell Green off the bench, 12 points, but 4 of 13 from the floor. So not an efficient night from pretty much anyone. Auburn's defense won them this basketball game. I mean, North Alabama, not a good team, but holding any team to 44 points is fantastic. But something that Auburn has to figure out about themselves is you've got to make layups and you've got to score when you're close to the basket. There were 4 of 5 on dunks, which is fine. If you're in a situation where you can attempt a dunk, you should make it. But 9 of 22 on layups. That's terrible. That is absolutely terrible. And a big talking point that Lindsay and I talked about with after the game on ESPN 1067 this past weekend was, I believe Auburn was 12 of 25 on layups this past weekend against, once again, an inferior opponent. And you just look at that 9 and 22 mark on layups when Auburn's close to the basket. And once conference play rolls around, is that going to get worse? The defense is going to get better. And so Auburn has to figure that out for themselves. That's something that I think should be this team's biggest concern going into conference play. At the start of the season, I would have thought the biggest concern would have been shooting from deep, but I think Auburn's fine there. What did they shoot from deep? They shot 36.4. They shot better from 3 than they did from the floor. 36.4% from behind the arc, 33.3% from everywhere. So that's something that's like, okay, that's a little bit better than I was expecting. Zep Jasper was 2 of 5. Wendell Green was 3 of 8. Devin Cambridge, previously mentioned, was 2 of 2. And so I thought Auburn wouldn't have somebody step up from 3. And I don't know if somebody's really stepped up to be elite, but the whole team is kind of a threat, and they can all kind of pop from 3 at any moment, which is fine, which is great. And maybe when Allen Flanigan comes back, they add even more of that. But as far as attacking the basket, that's a struggle. And you have to hope that Allen Flanigan will be healthy enough when he returns to bring that to Auburn's offense. And maybe it'll kind of be contagious and set the tone for other folks. But you just look at this team, and they don't have a dude that can take the ball from the top of the key and attack the basket and score. That is what this team is missing right now. And so you look at Allen Flanigan coming in a few weeks and say, okay, maybe he can get this team back on track. But how healthy is he going to be coming off an Achilles injury. It's probably going to take him some time to rehab and get back used to the speed of the game, especially if he's just thrusted in right at the start of conference play. That's my biggest concern, is when Allen Flanagan comes back, is he going to look like the Allen Flanagan of last season? I don't know. But that, to me, is where Jabari Smith needs to step up. And his defense has gotten so much better. He's gotten so much more comfortable with his shot and taking shots and controlling the basketball game. From game one of this season to now, he's matured so much. And a lot of that's just him getting comfortable. But I want to see him be comfortable attacking the basket. And that's something that Auburn's going to need to get better at over the course of this season, and preferably as soon as possible. And look, we were talking about this in the Locked On Auburn Discord, but this may have been a best case scenario for this team, and they ended up winning by plenty. The line was 29, according to betonline.ag, and Auburn won by, I stink at math. They won by 26. That's pretty close. That's a pretty close thing. So, they ended up kind of doing what was expected of them as far as dominating North Alabama by the right amount. But just watching it, if they had a decent first half, I mean, this may be like a 40-point game when it's all said and done. I mean, they were really, really bad in the first half. And they just needed to kind of step up, and they didn't really do that. But I'm trying to find the numbers as far as, all right, here we go. Total rebounds here. Auburn ended up winning 50-40 on total rebounds, which just shows how many shots were missed. Sloppy game. That's crazy. But in the first half, they were down with rebounds, and they were also down in offensive rebounds. North Alabama had 9 offensive rebounds at halftime, and yet they only had 2 second chance points, which is crazy to think about. But Auburn ended up winning that battle 16-10. So North Alabama only had 1 offensive rebound in the second half, which is exactly what you want to see. But all in all, I mean, this was a decent win in regards to second half performance in this game. But against conference play, which we are so close to seeing this team, I mean, it's almost here. What are they going to be able to do? But them struggling in the first half may open up an opportunity for Bruce Pearl to return and just get on these dudes. We've talked to Zep Jasper on the show before, and he's said, Bruce loves to come in and say, cool, you won, so what? You ain't won anything. And boy, can he come in and say that. He's probably talking to him right now as I record this at 10:30 on Tuesday night, right after the game ends. I think long-term, this is great. And Bryan talked about this a ton in the Locked On Auburn Discord throughout the game, but you want Auburn to struggle in these types of games so they can look at it, learn, and get better. Because if Auburn plays like they did tonight, especially in the first half against LSU to start conference play, that's not going to be good. Auburn will lose that matchup because LSU's playing good ball. And, they're undefeated. LSU's undefeated right now. And they're just taking care of everybody that they play. Has their competition been great? I don't think so. But they're taking care of business. They're not playing with their food. And over the past few games, you've seen Auburn dominate teams that they should be dominating, and they didn't do that this evening. And so that's something that they've got to fix moving forward. Unrelated to this game, but just worth noting from a conference standpoint, is Alabama lost. Alabama lost. I mean, so many folks are saying this is like the best team ever. And they lost 92-78. They gave up 92 points. Memphis had a 55-point second half. So you hate to see it. But at the same time, as Lindsey Crosby would say, you know what he would say. So there you go. Hey, thanks for listening to today's show. Happy National Signing Day. Or I guess early signing day, everyone. And tomorrow, we'll recap all of it. Auburn should be in store for a pretty good day. And depending on how the Curtis Perry thing goes, it could be a very, very great day. We'll see, and we'll recap it all tomorrow, right here on Locked On Auburn.